The opinions, views, and conclusions expressed in this show are those of the show host and co-host and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of KPFV FM or its affiliates.
The Watchers with your host, Ed Ledesma, and co-host, Mitch Lingon.
Thank you for joining us, here with the Watchers. I'm Ed Ledesma.
And I'm Mitchell Langen.
This is a good day to be in your local neighborhood, shopping centers and stuff like that, and sucking up all their AC. Going to your local coffee shop, sucking up their AC, drinking something cool. It's a nasty heat wave that we have here. But not only here in Nye County in southern Nevada, but throughout the western part of the United States and some, the Midwest. But, as watchers, we pay attention to what's going on, not only in our own township, our state, but, here in this nation that's being destroyed by morons and so on. And guess what? Throughout the world, there's other things going on. You have to be vigilant in a way to see the incoming tsunami wave of disasters, political, Mother Nature, and so on. But here's something that we can do, and you guys have seen it in mainstream media. You got Portland that's bringing up this new policy, in policing. Will no longer conduct low-level traffic stops. They announced it on Tuesday, and this low-level traffic stop is what they're saying. We're not going to do much. We're going to let you violate the laws of of the land, and also the laws within the city and state. Excuse me. Dust is flying in here from the AC, straight on heat dust. This is coming from the mayor and the police chief of Portland, Oregon. So, and they're not going to stop you for expired tags and or broken headlights like other places, which they do. You're in violation of of the state laws. So they're going to let things go. So, and then you're going to wonder what's going to happen with this. How far can they get? Go with this, and the decision making of these clowns. I mean, you're talking about liberal clowns are going to do something for their city. Is it going to do? Is it going to increase the safety of that city of of Oregon? Who knows? It might. Their philosophy is to make things safer. I don't know how they're going to do this, how to make things safer in Portland, Oregon, but it's going to. You're going to have it like it is in certain towns where people are driving without license plates. So
they should just defund the city, Ed.
Yeah, pretty much.
They should just defund the city.
So
why not?
Why
they
not
should defund the politicians?
Why not do things like that? And instead of defunding the police, what about 2 weeks ago, 100 riot control type units, a unit that the Portland, Oregon has is no longer there. They resign because you have idiots running the city. That's the mayor, that's the police chief. But you realize, folks, that the police chief is an appointed figure, not elected. So you're getting things like that, and here in our town, we elect our law enforcement, representative. That's the town, the county sheriff. And then we're going to have midterm elections coming up, and folks, you should look who's running for that position. I have no complaints. Who's there right now? Nothing. I mean, no complaints. But look who's coming in to run against our town sheriff. So investigate, because the person that might be coming in, you're not going to like. Change the entire county, sheriff's department. there's a factor of that. You got to look into it. Is this person native to this county? Which means doesn't mean you're born here only, but you spend time in this county. And I'm looking at Portland, Oregon. Their decision making. It's going to be bad. So if they're not going to no longer conduct low level traffic stops, and you know expired tags, broken headlights. I got pulled over here with our local deputy. The reason why I pulled you over because your headlight was out. Okay, I didn't know. So I'm driving around. So often do we check our vehicles? Well, guess what? You go to Portland, Oregon, you can drive with expired tags, maybe no no license plates, and commit a crime somewhere else. And guess what? You're free to go. Um, so so they're going to make their safety safer. That's what they stated. The police chief and the mayor. I don't know what that means. Make their safety safer. Hmm.
Well, the one benefit I could see, and this is just it's an epidemic all over the United States. Actually, the defunding. Once you throw a banana at a monkey in a cage, the other monkeys are like, "Oh, I want a banana too." So all the counties, all the dummies all over the United States that feel their counties or states and cities need to defund the law enforcement. Well, everyone's like, "Oh, we want to do that too," because it's cool. The thing is, there's towns and places like, well, Oakland, California this week, the police chief in Oakland, California. If you don't know about Oakland, California, well, I lived there, believe it or not. It's dump. It's there's a massive distance between the ultra wealthy, and there's billionaires that live in Oakland, believe it or not, to the street down below MacArthur Boulevard, to the dirt poor, people living on cardboard. And it's sad. And you have that massive spread of wealth. And then you have the police chief going to the city council, hey, what are you doing? You're defunding my police department. We arguably have one of the most messed up cities in America, one of the most messed up, high crime, high theft, just infiltration, lots and lots of violent crime going on in the city of Oakland. And the police chief's just standing there going, hey, why would you do this to me? I've got 60 plus officers going out, retiring, getting out of here, and I don't blame them. I have 60 to replace them coming out of academies and various things, but I'm already down below the need level, so I need hundreds more. And they defunded him. They took away his ability to run his department the way he needs to run it. That's a police chief. And he's at a point where I understand he doesn't have the resources to be able to compete with the criminals. When you can't compete with the criminals, Ed, the criminals have a better odds against your law enforcement, you're screwed. You're done for. Your city is over. And then all these other cities want to do the same thing. Follow me. Oh, we're gonna defund our law enforcement too. It makes no sense. The one thing that I could see benefiting, Ed, when it comes to traffic stops for law enforcement, is that it takes the law enforcement the danger element out of it. You got a lot of law enforcement. They do a routine stop and they get shot at, they get ran over. It's dangerous. So the one benefit, Ed, I could see in that is, you know what? Maybe that would be good for the law enforcement and the law enforcement unions. They don't have to deal with the medical emergencies. They don't have to deal with, trauma. That they don't have to deal with the care needed to get these officers back on duty because of the stuff they encountered during basic routine traffic stops. And there's that saying, Ed, in law enforcement, there is no such thing as a routine traffic stop. Nothing's routine about a routine traffic stop because it can go south pretty fast. And, knowing law enforcement, me and Ed know a lot of them, I think that's the only benefit I see is giving a little bit more safety back to the law enforcement element. But that's not helping the citizen out there or the community when someone's doing something that's completely negligent or rampant in a vehicle where they could have been stopped during a traffic stop. So there's a double-edged sword there.
There is, and here in our local, town and our in the southern part of the, Nye County, I'm seeing a lot of law enforcement making stops on moving violations, which is good. We got newcomers from other states, and they don't understand the laws within our township.
Well,
There's speed limits and
that's
stuff.
what it is, Ed. The
Yeah.
thing is the city, not the city because we're not a city, but Pahrump, our township, we're going to get a lot of revenue from newcomers because me and Ed talk about this all the time. We've got more people in this town that you'll ever see on some sort of document stating the population. The population in this town is about 50% more than whatever stupid number that you hear. The census didn't do anything. The number is incorrect. This town is like 3-4 times bigger than the town I grew up in, which was a large town. It's a large town right now, and this town is actually bigger than that. But it doesn't give the illusion that we're big, right?
No,
Because
it
we don't
does.
have a major shopping center, we don't have major big corporations doing business here. That's all in Vegas. But the thing is, when you see how many vehicles are on the road now in comparison to 3 years ago, me and Ed talk about this all the time. Before it was just here and there. Now every street is packed with cars. It's so packed that people that aren't from here are using side streets. They're finding out the side streets and such. All the different little side streets we have here in the Front Valley. They're using those too. So I feel bad for the people that live in these neighborhoods because they got tons of cars driving down their streets. They're not local people.
No, they're not. They're not. With Portland's, public figures, the mayor and the police chief, and others that are involved, they're going to reduce the budget for the police department. Their budget is, I believe, it's about $27 million on that they're trying to reduce it from the PD, Portland's PD, $27 million. So so they're going to do less, conduct less low level, traffic stops. So that means, so your traffic motorcade, your motorcycle cops are going to be either forced to retire, or put into some of their other positions, and there'd be a waste of money just sitting there in the yard. You have motorcycles there. So I'm glad that we have some form of motorcycle teams out here doing their jobs. I've been watching them. They're stopping people that are violating the traffic laws. So when you do something, remove a certain amount of money from the department, and then you're telling them, you don't need to conduct low level traffic stops. So when you give them a foot, they're gonna take a yard. So these violators. So this is the trend that's going throughout, not only in Portland, but it's throughout the nation. So the downfall of having law and order is slow. I mean, it's not slowly disappearing, but it's quickly just saying, what, you people do handle yourself, and don't be crying for for assistance. So
Well, we're devolving into like a vaudeville stage show, like the Keystone Cops.
yeah,
We're like law enforcement's going to be taxed to the maximum because they don't have enough. They're not going to be funded,
no, there.
and the other thing is they're going to be hamstringed. Similar thing that happened in the military. And I say happened; it already happened in the military. Wonder why we can't win conflicts faster than we used to be able to,
Well,
like World War II.
you got no balls.
Because we were unleashed. World War II were unleashed. We're trying to fight for the existence of the universe, basically. Now we have all these rules. Oh, don't look at that guy like that. You might scare the enemy. It's ridiculous and it's egregious. So this whole political correctness that has turned into a pandemic for the last 20 plus years, Ed. It didn't happen tomorrow. It didn't happen yesterday. It happened a long time ago. And I've said this years ago on this show. You keep taking a chip out of that rock. By the time you're over there's no rock left, because they kept taking chips out of our Constitution, keep taking chips out of our rights, taking chips out of our military procedures and how we run this great country. And look where we're at.
Yeah.
Well, the rock is barely there. By the time we're done, it's going to be dust, and the country's just going to blow away. We're going to devolve into like a Keystone Cop situation. We're going to look like a complete joke. We're going to look on the stage of the world. We're going to look like a complete joke because we already do.
We're going to get poor quality, officers on and deputies if this happens. Well, it's happening more on the metropolis cities where they appoint their police chiefs and stuff like that, because they like to follow those who give them a little bit of side check, some cash on the side, do this, you still have your job. So if you reduce your force and stuff like that, you get a pay increase, by all means. So
Yeah, and I'm sure the city council, Ed,
oh yeah,
and the mayor's office are going to always vote yes for their pay raise, right?
oh yeah,
They're always going to do that. So, like that 27 million number you got out, that's since they're taking away from the law enforcement, where do you think that's going to go?
their
It ain't
pockets.
it ain't going to fix the potholes in the road.
Oh yeah, speaking about potholes, have you noticed, folks? Locally, they're
Yeah,
they're attempting
our
to
roads
fix.
roads are looking pretty good. We talked about that
Oh
a
yeah,
few episodes back.
yeah, they're attempting to fix them. It's always near the midterm elections. When it's popping up, they're rushing to fix their districts. They go, oh yeah, So, let's get into something else. We know that the PDs in metropolis cities are failing. So the good thing, the last line of defense is our sheriff's department. Anyways, if you're watching mainstream media or international news, don't watch mainstream media. But if you want to find out what's going on in the world, international news, this was what the Russian general exposes a Russian general of the naval fleet over there in the Black Sea. Rear Admiral, what's his name? John Kirby and the British, fleet, the denials of Russia giving warning shots, and it was exposed, on the American side, that supports, the Biden. So he denied that there was any warning shots, but then the Russian general exposes it, and he puts out the videos, and we're seeing this. How far can we push the Russian, fleet in the Black Sea? So the key territory that they're focusing on is Crimea and what's his name?
It's the Ukraine.
Ukraine.
So region Crimean Peninsula, as they call it.
Yeah. So you got NATO conducting, training exercise in the Black Sea. It's kind of odd that they're doing this. So they're pushing the issue, or actually pushing the Russians, to, how far can we get within, before we violate any waters, close to certain territories or certain, countries. Russians always had control of the Black Sea because that's their main ports, for certain navies. But you have NATO that is involved in their training because you have Ukraine. You remember in 2014 what they did. But anyways, so we're denying it, not as American people, but down at the Pentagon, they're denying that this happened. So if they are, they're hiding the truth. So this administration is notorious for hiding the truth, and you're seeing it, slap in the face here and there. For we the people, they don't care. So once again, Russia makes a threat, against NATO. So if NATO is like, we're within the boundaries of these waters, but when you push the Russians, how far are they going to go with warning shots? Sooner or later, we're going to have a Gulf of Tonkin again, right?
Quite possible.
It's possible because for some reason, we were in the Gulf of Tonkin, 1965 or something like that, 64, and our Navy was out there. Supposedly, Vietnam's, gunships, we were talking their boats, fired against them, but the truth is hidden right there because our Navy did something or something happened with it within that ship. But that's a different story. Um, so the White House is, is blaming Republicans for defunding the police, throughout the nation. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, it's just so pathetic. It's so pathetic, and they wonder why MSNBC and CNN have catastrophic ratings failures. Like no one's watching it. It's because of this type of garbage. This stuff is so egregious and such lies. It's almost like they're writing a script for a joke, like they're doing a skit, a news skit that's complete backwards for like YouTube or something. It's just ridiculous. And if anyone believes this stuff, man, you need to take a pill. You need to like get some water. You need to sit down and reevaluate your brain status because if you believe that this stuff is true, you're insane, completely insane. The left is so ridiculous with their bizarro world opposites land. Everything that's right is wrong, and everything that's wrong is right. That's what they go with, and it's impressive. What's impressive to me is how stupid we are. That's what's impressive. That's just how stupid people are to still tune in to mainstream media that talks about garbage like this, and to still believe the journalists you're reading. And the journalism, I was just talking about this week. Remember, I said many past episodes, if you really want to know who's writing these articles and why they're so stupid and why they can't hardly spell, all you got to do is click on their little picture or click on the name of the author of the article online, and you'd be amazed. I'd done it for years, and I go, well, that article is completely it just put it in the trash, means nothing. When you see who's writing these articles, these journalistic students or these new, fresh journalistic majors that just graduated, you got people writing mainstream articles about national news, world affairs. They're like 23, 24 years old. And I'm like, what?
No
What?
experience.
Zero experience, zero knowledge about politics. They were indoctrinated in whatever podunk university they went to, or college, or junior college, or whatever. It's laughable. I find myself laughing hysterically, especially when they show their picture. And I know we're in a time where we're not supposed to judge people by the way they look, but I'll tell you what, you click on the little circle or square they have next to their article, if they offer that up on the author of the article I, 9 times out of 10, I laugh hysterically because it looks like they dressed up for a Saturday Night Live skit, and not in a good way. It's like this clown right here is writing an article about world news and happenings. Are they? What news editor, what main guy in the office at this organization gave the okay for this douchebag to write this article that is very important because it's mainstream media news? And I'm not letting the guys get away with it. The douchebag females that you see on these things too. You click on them, you're like, where did this female come from?
Oh,
Whoa,
well,
what? Really? She's like 22 years old, graduated from, basket weaving college of NYU, and has the ability and the life experience and knowledge to write an article that's supposed to be deep and informational. I don't get it. And I'm not trying to be age specific here, that young people can't do certain things. But like I've said many times before, the 20-year-old of today is not the 20-year-old of when me and Ed were 20. Me and Ed were 20. We were deployed in a combat zone
oh,
doing the
my,
good deed for this country and growing right the hell up, because you had to grow up real fast. I grew up very fast. I was in the delayed entry program. I was in service at 17 years old. I had to be a man. And
well,
you've got people right now that haven't even seen, they haven't even left the country, and they're writing major articles for major news publications. What's going on with the editors at these companies and these publications, where they think that it's okay for someone that has zero life experience to be opinionated and write articles about things that are very important to the American people.
Well,
It's ridiculous, Ed.
it is. It's this this wave of where we experience the COVID-19, the virus. Now they're calling it a disease and stuff, but there's a disease going through this nation.
That's
I mean,
called low IQ.
low IQ, less experience, zero, and knowledge of things,
Zero life
and
experience.
life experience. It takes years. Like I told my daughter, and when she stated, I'm moving out so I can learn how to become an adult. I go, baby, it's a lifetime experience.
Yep.
It doesn't start and it doesn't end.
Yeah.
As you can have an 80-year-old man or a woman still learning.
Just dumb as a stump.
Yeah. So
So-
and it doesn't end.
doesn't end.
So you get these people in these publications, these editors and stuff. You can imagine where their experience.
So
come
I look
from.
it up, Ed, and
Oh.
I it is laughable. I look at their university background because you can follow them. A lot of times they're on Twitter, they have
Oh,
a Facebook, and if you've seen their education level and where they went and where they're from, it just reads. You just go, "Oh, I get it."
But if you think about it,
It's
folks,
pathetic, Ed.
when the internet came in
Yes,
into our lives,
changed a lot of things.
it
As we say,
changed the educational background for people. Instead of learning at your local schools, or your universities where they indoctrinate those, and so then the internet comes in. It's a world of information, but when you manipulate that world of information, it becomes truth, even though it's false majority of the time. So
yeah,
you're looking up
you're right.
stuff, and you're seeing, you go on Wikipedia, it's a site where you can find information.
You know what's funny, Ed? We used to have this saying
Mhm.
a few years ago, like 99, 2000, right before the .com crash, and right after the crash, people would say something, and my joke with my buddies was, "Where did you find that? Where did you get that information? The internet?" Because we all know the internet, that's where everything is real, right?
Oh yeah.
So we joked about that years ago, Ed. Pre-millennium, we joked about that. And it's just the truth. Before you had to have it together. You had to have verifiable sources. You had to do the research. You had to be credible. Now there's something to say, Ed, about the internet now that you can self-publish. There's things you could do. It gives the little guy it
A
gives
chance.
a chance. Yes, that is amazing.
Well,
That's amazing. But when they get these people that have no clue and they want to lie to the people, want to lie to the public, all of a sudden they got a degree in basket weaving. Where'd they buy that at? The thing is, it really dumbs down America. It makes all the news media and the resources of like the old encyclopedias, it
Yeah.
pretty much throws it out the window. It means nothing anymore.
ever since the smartphone, came
The
came
not so
aboard,
smartphone.
and access to world of information, whatever it is,
Right there.
you don't know who's putting that information.
Exactly.
What's their agenda to change history? They're changing history right now, but with this device, you can go on there and find your way how to get to a location. You use, Google Maps or whatever. And you have this AI type saying turn left, in so many yards. Before you used to use the Thomas guide, and it was that thick, and it was like $50 or so. A world of information, how to find yourself.
You had to work your brain.
Yeah, there you go. Using the mind to learn how to use a book.
It's visuals, Ed.
Yeah.
It works your mind. It's distances. It's times. It's navigation. It's how we used to be as human race.
Well, today's human race, it has taken a downturn when it comes to understanding certain things. When it comes with information or learning, going to the public library or the Library of Congress.
That's how it used to
Oh,
be, Ed.
yeah.
Remember, in education, in high school, when high school was more like higher education back in the day,
Oh yes,
it was much better. To do your research, you couldn't use the internet because we didn't have it. We didn't have the internet. We had computer billboard things where we get to chat back and forth way back then. That was fun. But the thing is, the whole idea of going to higher education, going to a university or a college, The whole idea of you being smart, Ed, was who had the best grasp on finding the material and the knowledge to write your paper, to write your research, to understand and study whatever your specialty was or what classes you were going to take or taking. You had to go physically. You had to have the brain power, the knowledge, the ability to read, the ability to just self-govern and have the balls to go find the research on something that was amazing.
Oh
It's
yes.
called paper. You had to go find it yourself because if you didn't graduate. You didn't do anything because you couldn't do your research papers without looking at documentation, whether it be microfiche, whether it be at the library, you had to put it up on the screen, you had to go find it, film, whatever it was, hard paper, book, softback, whatever, periodicals, you had to find it yourself and do it. That was part of the plan to get that degree. If
You-
you didn't know how to do that, you weren't going to graduate from high school or university. You
It's
weren't going to do it.
it's totally over.
Now it's over.
It's over. So the learning process, folks, when it comes to education, and the reason why we're getting into it, you got to look what we have today. Look at these young adults that are out there today.
Yeah, the Wikipedia generation.
Oh yeah, Wikipedia, internet, Facebook, don't believe manipulation of information, by some form of entity that doesn't want to put out the truth. Manipulation.
It's propaganda. It's excellent.
It's excellent. Who used that propaganda? Oh, communists, socialists, to change the mindset.
The greatest one, of
Mhm.
course, the communists and the socialists.
You change history. As of today, it was on local. No, that was on mainstream media and also on the radio outlets that they're continuing to remove history. Confederate leadership. Monuments and stuff like that. But when you erase history, you manipulate the new history that's being put up.
You know what's terrifying, Ed? Other than the artistic and the monuments that we have in the country, no matter what it's for, I'm going to say that, no matter what it's for, the monuments, art, whatever it is, what's terrifying, Ed, they're getting rid of that right in front of our face, no matter what it is. They tried to cancel Abraham Lincoln, basically the father of the Emancipation Proclamation, the father of the abolition of what's the big topic of the day, racism and slavery. Think of that. They wanted to cancel him because they said he was racist. Here's the crazy thing, Ed. The terrifying thing is none of that terrifies me more than what about the archives? Like the Library of Alexandria, we lost more information when the Library of Alexandria burned down in ancient times than we have ever had. If we had that stuff, Ed, we have answers to life. But
We
it
do.
burned. It was on papyrus. It was on animal skins. It was a library that was probably the greatest information. It was like the Akashic Records, Ed, in the universe. The thing
Yeah.
is, what is happening now to the archives of history that we don't know, that's hidden places? They can burn it, destroy it. That the public's never going to know that, Ed.
Well, it's the same thing. You revert back to history. During the Library of Alexandria, right? It was changed. The Egyptians had it there for a reason. You have history, information, famous scholars throughout the world
Oh, it's just
that were going there
it's
to
tragic.
learn.
It's tragic. Could you imagine what was in that?
Oh,
Could you imagine if we had the knowledge from the Library of Alexandria and nobody else did? That would be godlike.
well,
You know what I
that,
mean?
that's why Constantine wanted it gone.
Yes.
Because you have scholars throughout the world going there learning and actually explaining, it's not only history, philosophy, everything. Famous people, men and women, very little on the women's side, but it was a world of information. But Constantine had an idea. You erase that information, guess what? They don't advance
You
as
go
a
back-
civilization.
You go back to the Dark Ages. We're literally, Ed,
Oh, yeah.
because we're getting rid of our monuments, bronze, marbles, whatever. We're getting rid of it.
Going back, folks, and we'll get into some other subjects too. In the beginning, the Fertile Crescent, is where life civilization began.
I don't think they even teach
No,
that anymore.
they don't teach that as much. The Fertile Crescent was somewhere where the Tigris and the Euphrates River was at.
Well, they're saying it's traditionally
Tradition.
Persia, Iraq, Iran.
All those, when civilization started, and people gathered towards a source, which is water, and they started, growing crops
They
and
got
stuff.
smart. They're fertile
And so
lands.
then
Passing knowledge.
passing knowledge.
Yes, oh yeah.
So families did that. So they trade, they raise animals, stuff like that. But when it came for policing, they had no policing because you had marauders, raiders, and stuff. It would take everything. So they created a police force to protect that source of what products. You had produce, merchandise.
Yeah, the resources.
It's a fertile crescent, but then there's branches of trails that lead to other nations, and it gets to a point, our collection where you trade merchants. So that's time there. It takes policing, and now to go to the future. What we have today is defunding the police throughout the nation. We're the only country right now that they're defunding our police, our law enforcement.
Now we have a new style of marauder.
New style of marauders. So think about it. History is repeating itself again when you put dumbasses in charge of your leadership. What are they going to do to your local townships, your cities? They're going to destroy it. All this. So here's another thing. We're going to get into it right now. So you have Mr. Biden says you need nukes and F-15s, not AR-15s, to take on a tyrannical government. So what does that mean, folks?
Yeah, that was a statement that he didn't need to make.
Exactly.
That was a statement that he needed to refer to the actual president, Kamala Harris, or someone else in his cabinet. We won't get into
Susan Rice.
Yeah, Susan Rice, by the way, who's actually probably the shadow government running it right now. The thing is, when you make a statement like that,
Mhm.
obviously the clown has no idea of what superpower that we are and what those resources militarily are. And you would never, ever, not even old Barry Obama on his biggest pot smoking day of history would ever let that slip out. You just remember what Barack Obama said. Old Barry Obama, and those of you that think that was his name was Barry Obama. So that's what he called himself. That's what everyone called him. Old Barry said, remember, don't ever underestimate old Joe to F things up. And he does it on a daily basis.
So, with this statement, folks.
But that's a powerful statement.
It is. What Biden said, it should, boil your blood. To go against a government, you need F-15s and nukes.
He's saying we
not
don't,
AR-15s, right?
We don't have the ability because we're not a military state. We're not private army. But see, what he does not understand, because he doesn't have the faculties, he doesn't have the intelligence, he doesn't have the wit with him anymore, and I don't think he ever did, Ed, to understand what he's saying. The other thing is, what he's not understanding is there are probably, three ARs per person, and I'm talking about ownership, the amount of black rifles that are under in this United States that are accounted for, by the way, not in pieces or such. There are 3 AR platform rifles for every American in the United States right now. That's not including blades, farm implements, vehicles, military grade, this and that, survival gear, prepper gear, agricultural equipment, all the things. The reason I'm telling you, why you're talking about agricultural equipment, Mitch. Well, that's because those implements and such are how wars were won. You think France won the war because they had AR platforms during the Revolution? No, it's called pitchforks and farming implements. You think that the CBs and the Army Corps engineers haven't fought battles because they didn't have a Caterpillar dozer running in front of them? We used it in World War II, used it in the Pacific, used it several times. We even use it now. That's a farm implement. Guess what we use? It's a weapon of war if you know how to use it.
Well, with this statement,
It's insane, Ed.
It is insane. The part that gets me, because I'll read it again, folks. You know, you need nukes and F-15s, not AR-15s, to take on a tyrannical government. He just stated that this administration is a tyrannical government. So I know, you're probably saying, come on, Ed, this, he's sick in the head. Well, he just put out the truth.
That's his state of mind.
Yeah.
It's called mindset. His mindset is that we are running a totalitarian government. He's slipped up thousands of times with, remember what Obama said, never underestimate old Joe for screwing stuff up. The thing is, it's his mindset. When you have a mindset like that and that old Freudian slips where you say things that you are in your mind, but you don't want the public or people around you to hear, but you slip up. You let it come out of your mouth. Those are the truths. It's like when people get drunk. And when you see a person drunk, the personality that they are when they're intoxicated, that's how they are in real life. Same thing with old Joe. Old Joe, what he says comes out of his mouth. What he slips up, when he says it, it's actually his truth. And it should scare every American.
Why do you think the world is challenging each other, nations, military? And they're doing that because we were a superpower.
We have no leadership.
No leadership. And the superpower can come back again, with
In a heartbeat.
great leadership.
Yes.
But what we have in D.C. is a bunch of clowns. And, you got, what's her name, Harris, that went down to El Paso to look at the border. She didn't even come close to the border. So you had patriots out there, and look at the video, folks.
Oh yeah, it's pretty
not
good.
Your typical patriots. These are minority patriots telling her to, go off. We're here supporting, America. And lie after lie, this administration is putting out there. Yeah, I went to the border. How close were you at the border? Well, she's afraid. You know why she's afraid to go to the border? Because of the truth that's there.
She doesn't want.
Don't want to see it.
There's one thing that people need to understand about Donald J. Trump. Donald J. Trump's the first president and one of the only presidents you'll ever see that had the ball sack to cross the border into North Korea and shake hands with Kim Jong-il or Kim Jong-un. It wouldn't matter who it was. He would have done it. That's called diplomacy. That's called getting it done. That's called I'm a leader and I will lead and I will show that I can get it done. The thing is, our vice president, she can't even go to the border, cross our own border, who we are friends with. We're friends with Mexico. We're not enemies with them. We have a lot of manufacturing there, for crying out loud. She can't even go. She can't even go to Tijuana. She can't even go into the city. She should go into the city. She's got the greatest security forces of all time around her. It's not like she's in danger. She could go across the border, show that she has her eye on the policies and understanding what is going on the border and trying to secure America and trying to be political and have policies that benefit both Mexico and America.
That didn't happen.
Doesn't that sound like leadership? Gee, that's what I would do. I would go pay a visit, right? Like Donald J. Trump did. But she can't do that because she's going to go to the border. She's freaked out about the cartels, I'm sure. She get the old tomatoes and salsa thrown in her face.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't realize how many people, and the numbers are there. Donald J. Trump in our last administration had a historic level of Hispanic votes that voted for Donald J. Trump because they believed in the nation, they believed in his leadership. When she goes to the border and people in El Paso, people in the border towns, she gets the truth because there are Hispanic people there of Hispanic, Mexican, Latino, Latin descent that don't believe in Joe Biden's America. They don't believe in Kamala Harris's crappy failed policies. And they're there and they verbally let her know. That's embarrassing to the administration. And that's what they don't want you to see. That's why she's not going there, Ed.
Yeah, she's not going to go back. It's an embarrassment. You got some leadership, that's part of the California, corruption, and they don't know how to lead. We're going to change the subject again. Well, with this heat wave, folks, you're seeing it's not only just a few states. It's a total of 7 states.
Yeah, it's brutal.
The Northwest, including northern Nevada, you got Idaho, you got northern California,
Yeah, Oregon and Washington,
all those.
hurting.
And then here in the southern part of Nevada, it's a common thing that we got heat waves.
It's another day.
Another day for us. So it's a dire drought levels are being observed. Sorry. We get this AC blowing some hot air. Anyway, folks, with this heat wave, it's going to impact a lot of things. People, crops, logistics, everything. They just, et cetera, et cetera. So the drops, which means the levels of our waters, it's going to go down. You'll see California is losing a lot of water because, you got idiots running these places. And locally, I went to Smith's today.
Well, that's always fun.
And they're back at it again when it comes to purchasing your liquids.
I know. I don't know how.
And guess what?
I don't know how you keep dealing with Smiths, man. It's just you're a trooper for going in that dang place.
Well, it's you're back at it. A certain amount of purchase when it comes to your water and other drinks.
Talk about leadership.
Oh,
Smiths
yeah.
is about the last leadership-oriented grocery store in the Pahrump Valley.
So with this dire drought levels, of being observed, with our waters, our crops, and so on like that, it's going to affect us so bad when it comes to certain things. So the availability of these things is going to be hindered by, what?
Yeah.
What's going to hinder us?
It's our water and it's our ability. It's a cost. We already have inflation. You add low water levels to the economics of everything. Your tomatoes, what do they need? They need water. What do they need to get transported to the grocery store?
Oh, yeah.
Fuel,
People to drive
People.
those vehicles.
farmers, the whole shebang. It's a whole tiered system. And if any of those tiered systems is pulled out from underneath it in that puzzle, then it collapses. Or it still continues, but it gets really expensive.
It's like you're playing Jenga, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same thing. You pull one of these things, and you're gonna one of these blocks of wood. It's gonna sooner or later it's gonna fall. So you're gonna have food shortages, And the reason why we're bringing it up, I know it sounds like we're talking, on the after the crash, but no, we're watching this. So mainstream media is pushing this climate change.
Oh yeah, it's
Climate
hilarious. Ed.
change.
It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. And with this climate change, folks, but the Earth, our solar system go through cycles, which is our sun. Nothing is constant. These clowns in DC, these liberals, throughout the nation, it's a climate change.
You know what's crazy?
Even when
Ed?
you fart, it's changing the climate.
What's so crazy? They've taken this climate change thing so far.
Yeah, exactly.
The Miami building collapse.
Oh yeah.
Guess what they brought up, Ed? One of the damn media outlets brought up the journalists. You call them journalists. I don't know why they use that word. They said that it's possible that the collapse was caused by climate change.
Oh, great.
Could you imagine the families that know that their loved ones are in that building and are missing, and you have some a-hole on mainstream liberal media saying that the collapse could have been caused by the problems with climate change? Man, I'd want to strangle them, dude.
Oh yeah, anybody wants to do
Everything is climate change, and they want to politicize that with a building collapse when people are dying. This whole climate change debacle and this whole climate change lie is about money, politics, shifting of money and funds, and it's about economics. Is there things changing in our climate? Yes, there is. Of course there is. There's always been. It'll keep doing that. It's the climate. It's the world we live in. Are there things changing? Yes, there is. Can't deny it. But when you politicize it, when you use it for misinformation and propaganda, it really makes it disgusting. And that's what they've been doing, and that's what they continue to do. And this week they used it as part of the model for why buildings collapse. It's just egregious, it's disturbing, and it needs to stop.
It does need to stop. It's bad to blame something other than the construction of a building. And when you build something, it's not 100% proof.
Nothing is, Ed.
It's not.
It's like the Titanic,
Yeah,
remember?
the Titanic was. It showed that you might be the Titanic, the largest ship, cruise ship, but it always some little thing can always
Oh yeah.
just destroy a ship.
Just like our freedom, Ed.
Oh yeah,
The littlest thing.
oh yeah.
We're
And
like the Titanic. The littlest thing could make us lose our freedom.
see, they don't remember. And the reason why I say they, the clowns in D.C. and some on, the governorships, throughout this nation, leadership within the township, cities and so on. So those clowns are trying to change things up. For what reason? It's just to control the entire nation of people, and they're finding ways to make things happen. You blame and blame and blame. So who do you blame? Americans. Who do you blame when things don't go right? Americans. So, and I had a little discussion with a family member, and just recently, and all I mentioned is that I go, hey, the world has changed. Be careful where you're at. And my message to it was to this person was to, oh, be aware of your surroundings because things can happen. You know, there's no things that there's no support of safety. So what this person did and made a statement and blamed the first thing is blame the Republicans for what? White supremacy. And well, I was like, wow, I'm surprised. I didn't know this person will be that way or turn that way. And I go, well, so me being a Republican, a conservative, does that make? He goes, is that what you're calling me? Right away, this person changed the not his mind, no, but I was referring to D.C. Well, if you look all the way around, the entire nation is fighting for its life. So blame is pushed at somewhere, and
Instead of taking responsibility.
taking responsibility. So, and that's the point I'm trying to bring it up. Is be responsible for what you're doing, and you have leadership that's failing, and they're blaming others other than their own failure. So we're witnessing that throughout the nation. You know, a child would get away from being caught, doing something wrong, being, I got to get away, I got to do something or say something, before I get disciplined. And a child would automatically would say, this person did it, or I didn't do it, I wasn't there. And you see all the chocolate in their face,
Yeah.
instead of the dog. But anyways, but that is, a child. But you have adults that are running this nation where they're doing things. For example, Pelosi during a time when Obama was in office, they were trying to pass this one bill, right? And they were going to have to pass it to find out what's in it. I mean, that's an insane statement coming out of the
Yeah.
Speaker of the House. We're
Yeah.
going to have to pass it to find out what's in it.
Oh,
Only idiots would say that.
you know it'd be hilarious, Ed? Not hilarious, but only it'd be great for our country. And the rumor's been knocking around. Old Donald J. Trump becoming Speaker of the House.
Oh, yeah. That'd be nice.
Could you imagine?
Trump Part 2. And you're going to see
Oh,
folks
man.
that,
You're gonna see people's head explode.
it's just like the day when he won the election, and they were all crying, all these,
Wouldn't it be magical to have actual leadership in a
Well,
leadership position?
but
Wouldn't it be magical?
we're wishful thinking.
Yeah,
right
wishful
now.
thinking, right, Ed?
Oh yeah,
Jeez, man.
it's a sad moment when it does happen. He becomes Speaker of the House, and the reason why I say it's a sad moment because the unity is not there.
Well, I don't think it's going to happen. The
No,
thing,
it's
the
not
thing
gonna
is, Donald J. Trump's going to run for president. And we're going to have him as president again, and it's just going to be that way. But they're already trying to beat up our DeSantis boy. They're already trying to. They say there already is what is it, DeSantis? Disease where
Yeah.
they can't get him out of their head, and he hasn't even really formally stated what he's going to do yet. It's just ridiculous.
There's many people that are out there that can actually lead.
There's a lot of good
a lot of
leaders.
good leaders, and I just read you something about the Rear Admiral. John Kirby. He's a person of leadership at the Pentagon, but then he makes a statement that is not true. So you have those leaders that are out there, and when you make statements like that, folks, it affects us all as a whole in this country, because the rest of the world is going to see us as liars, manipulators, corrupt. We're supposed to be the superpower, of the world, the number one. We're not. We went full. We went past retard.
We look like the grand idiots of the universe.
Oh yeah, the grand idiots. So I can imagine the aliens that are up there in space, orbiting. It goes, they'll probably say, "Damn, what's wrong with this country?" I go, and we used to go there and check them out. I don't think we should, do some abduction anymore into this country.
People are
They're a
stupid.
bunch of morons.
We're gonna stick with the
Oh,
cows.
yeah, stick to the
cows and
cows,
cattle. They're smarter.
Let's go to China. There's a billion of them over there. They have so far their heads in the right direction. But then let's go do some other places. But don't go to the United States. You're gonna get that the Joe Biden syndrome. Like, no, they're dumb. You can't deal with this spread of disease of acting stupid and stuff. So these things, folks. We're here at the studio, like KPFB 98.1 FM. As watchers, we're trying to give you a heads up what the cause of things and the effect of things. When they do something, is going to affect us down the road, and it's a multiple thing of these statements, issues. What they do is it's screwing the entire nation. And then, before we go off the air, you're watching the Olympic trials.
Oh boy.
So
Is that what it's called, or is it called Social Justice Warrior
yeah,
Program?
So you have representatives from every nation to compete the best athletes.
And they're proud.
They're proud. But we get
But
morons.
we're
We're not. We got
Our,
some
our
morons.
American constituents that are our American athletes, better word, they're not. And it's the same. It's just old. They've been doing this. The NFL did it, NBA did it. For the last couple of years, it's old. It's grown tiresome. It's grown old. There's no reason to burn flags. There's no reason to turn your back on the flag. There's no reason to do that anymore. They got their wish. They bought up the election. Joe Biden's president. The liberals are wreaking havoc on our economy and our way of life. And yet still, remember they said, we're turning the back on the flag because it's Donald Trump as president. He's not president anymore.
No, it's not. It's not. Now we have transgender competing. So you got men in women's sports.
Yeah,
come on.
A lot of the athletes aren't happy with that.
No, they're not happy
because they fought their way their whole lives to get to that level, and then they've got a man that says they're a woman competing, and there's no way they're going to be able to win.
They can't.
It's very sad.
They can't compete in the standard, men's, event because they can't make the cut. So they go to the next, next gender, which is the women, sports.
And they clean up. They're number one. There's a reason why.
When you have, penises and balls in the women's sport, it's not fair for women. It's not. To be honest with you, if you want to be a transgender, you compete in the right sport, the right gender.
They have a Special Olympics. They have a Paralympics.
Oh yeah, they should do that.
They have that. Paralympians or Special Olympians, they cannot compete in Olympics that have athletes that don't have amputations or have learning disabilities and such like that. They can't cross over. Just like an Olympic athlete can't go cross over and go to a Paralympian event where the person's amputee because it's not fair. It's not fair to the Paralympians because they're amputees or they have I'm not going to call it disabilities because they're not. They have situations medically, they're not the same as an athlete that doesn't have any conditions or amputations. So why would that be fair? Same thing with transgender athletes. It's not fair for a female to have a full-grown man that's transitioning or transitioned into a woman that has the size and abilities of a full-grown regular male that hasn't transitioned to a female. It boggles my mind that that is considered fair.
It's not fair.
It's not fair.
It's all it is. It's just proving a point that they can do it. The world is watching the United States.
It's pathetic.
It's a pathetic country right now.
They should have a complete different transgender Olympiad.
Yeah,
Just like they have Paralympics, just how they have Special Olympics. That's totally fair. I have no problem with that. But when you're trying to beat the system by gaming the system, that's not fair. And it's not the idea of being an Olympian. The whole concept is to show your athletic prowess.
Well, folks, we're at the end of the hour. Mr. Producer gave us the finger, like always. We thank you for joining us here at KPFB 98.1 FM, with the Watchers. I'm Ed Ledesma.
And I'm Mitchell Langen.
Have a good evening.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too or I'll be back.